Hey, good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic Live. I'm your host, Neil Johnson. Excited to be with you and excited to share the news with you. Do have a couple guests joining me today. One's having some camera issues. That's why we're starting a little late. He'll get that resolved. I got to get this rolling for you. But we have big news regarding a number of issues surrounding 2020. And I know so many of you are concerned. Are we ever going to see justice? Are we ever going to see prosecutions? Are we ever going to see this come together? And so I'm going to share with you, Trump did an interview with Norah O'Donnell on 60 Minutes. And I haven't seen anybody else talking about this. And this ties into some other recent activity, both militarily, law enforcement, involving the DOJ, our great United States Armed Forces, the Navy. And all of this is leading to something that I cannot wait to show you on this show. So do me a favor, please do smash that like, do chat in with where you're from. I see many of you have already chimed in, but yes, please chime in. Let me know where you're from and everything. And I'm going to bring this to the stage, and then I'm going to bring in my guests, but I want you to just watch this first.
Who's tougher to deal with, Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping?
Both tough, both smart, both, look, they're both very strong leaders. These are people not to be toyed with. These are people you have to take very serious. They're not walking in saying, oh, isn't it a beautiful day? Look how beautiful the sun is shining. It's so nice. These are serious people. These are people that are tough, smart leaders.
And on that note, you talk about Ukraine. In August, I mean, you rolled out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin in Alaska, but there's been...
Well, I roll out the red carpet for everybody.
But there's been no ceasefire.
Is he ignoring you? Because I inherited a country where he thinks he's winning. That was a war that would have never happened if I was president.
So why won't Putin end this war?
But Nora, that was Joe Biden's war, not my war. I inherited that stupid war. That should not have been a war. That would have never happened if I were president. And by the way, for 4 years, it didn't happen. There was never even a doubt. Then the election was rigged and stolen. And all of a sudden, you see them forming up at the line. And now I come back, and I'm going to get that one solved, too. But just a little list.
I'm going to get that one solved, too, folks. I am going to get that one solved too. That's right. He's going to get this stolen election stuff, but it gets better. Hold on. You guys think that's good? No, this whole thing gets better. I'm bringing my guests, though, because I'm so excited to bring them in. Let's bring in Heather Mullins. Heather, good to have you on today. You covered Georgia ad nauseum during the election of 2020. Georgia is factoring into this. There are some very interesting things taking place in the state of Georgia we're going to talk about with the Department of Justice, with Harmeet Dillon, and also dealing with Venezuela, which I'm going to bring in another part of that CBS interview with Norah O'Donnell. This is wild stuff. And George, my good friend, friend.
How's it going, Neil? You're finally back. I miss you, man. You just abandon us. You just go hunting and you're in the woods. How's it going, Heather?
Seriously.
Seriously, listen, you too.
Like every time I'm asking him, hey Neil, what are you doing? He's like, I'm hunting, and I'm like, oh, it must be nice. I wish I didn't have to work.
Yeah. Heather's a big shot now. She's gonna be at the Pentagon.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Wait, hold on. Was that like news to anybody?
No, I broke it on Neil's show the other day, but I haven't actually like broken on Twitter or anything like that. So basically just here.
So is it just gonna be as an independent journalist, or are you joining one of these organizations?
I'm completely independent going into this. So it's something that, like, I mean, as a journalist, I've contracted with other networks over the years, like Real America's Voice, and done contract work for another startup, America First News, that ended up not really going the direction I thought it was going to. So I'm going down there completely like unattached to any network, which is a good thing, but it's also no one's paying my way there. So it's, in order to be truly independent, like you really have to have like a crowdfund source of income that's not, which I don't necessarily have built up yet. So I'm hoping to get there, but yeah, totally, completely independent. Are you going, George?
Well, I was invited by a friend of mine who works there. I signed the policy. I don't know if I'm gonna, fly out and do anything. I told them I don't have the time for that. but it's a spectacular.
You're being a Donald Trump of Colorado, George. You're being a big time real estate.
Yeah, I have too much stuff going on, you know. So
okay, real quick, I'm going to mention something. I've got to get into this next segment of news about Georgia and Venezuela and how it relates to Trump just saying he's going to get to the bottom of 2020 because it was rigged and stolen. He just said all this right on 60 Minutes. I can't believe nobody else is talking about this, but I want to share something else really quick before I get to this story. And that is because Heather is independent, and my mods can share this throughout, but she does have a Venmo, she has a Cash App, and she has a PayPal. So it's all right there. It's always Talk Mullins. She's Talk Mullins 1 on Cash App. Somebody must have taken your Talk Mullins or something.
It said it was unavailable. It's possible I could have made it forever ago and just never used it, and like I have to like regain access. But
yeah. Well, nonetheless, those are.
I have to read this. I have to read this comment though. I was reading the comments, and someone responded to you always hunting, Neil. And they said Heather and George are great hunters too. They just have different prey.
Okay, wait. Okay, before I know I got to cover news, and I don't want to make the whole show about my hunting trip. But this is my daughter's first whitetail buck. We got that. This is we were hunting Montana.
Your daughter has hunted more animals than me.
My daughter that's her 8th deer, George.
Oh my gosh, what am I, Neil? I don't even have a mustache. I'm not a man.
Bit of a schmuck there, George. I don't know what to tell you there. Anyways, and this is I got this muley buck. So, anyways, we had a good time. I'm still elkless, but I won't cry a river right now about that. If anybody has some land, want to invite me out to go elk hunting where there's not a million people who've chased them all off the public ground, you're welcome to invite me out. I'll come out. So anyhow, but I could have gone to the next thing. So this to me was really big. He's talking about getting to the bottom of 20.
You know what's crazy about
what
you and I?
What?
We have the same brain. I kid you not. When I watched that interview and he did this reach in this, I was like, that's a title for a video.
Yeah. This is huge. Okay. And that was kind of a great little thing too. He goes on, he talks about all the wars that he solved. Norah O'Donnell is terrible, but he compliments her. I mean, he's so good at this stuff, right? He's like, Norah, you're a talented lady, but come on, he's just, I love the guy. I love how he handles himself in these interviews. Okay. So I'm going to skip ahead now to this part. And this is he's going to talk about the world leaders. He's going to talk about Putin and Xi. But then he's going to get into Venezuela because Norah is going to take him to task because, my gosh, we're building up armament in the Western Hemisphere. Now, I think I'm trying to think what order I should drop these in, but I'm going to go this way. Okay, so watch this, folks.
The issue of foreign policy, and let's turn to our hemisphere. There have been 8 boats in the Caribbean destroyed by the U.S. military.
Fortunately.
And now the USS Gerald Ford, that is the world's largest aircraft carrier, on the way to the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. Are we going to war against Venezuela?
I doubt it. I don't think so. But they've been treating us very badly, not only on drugs. They've dumped hundreds of thousands of people into our country that we didn't want. People from prisons, they emptied their prisons into our country. They also, if you take a look, they emptied their mental institutions and their insane asylums into the United States of America because Joe Biden was the worst president in the history of our country. We had the worst inflation. We had the worst of everything. But the worst thing he did was allow millions of people to come into our country that were in many cases, criminals, murderers. 11,888 murderers were let into our country. Venezuela let a lot of those people in. But they were from all over the world. This isn't just Venezuela. They were from all over the world.
We are going to talk about
what he did.
Okay, so now check this out. He keeps hammering Venezuela. There's 2 things to pay attention to. You got to go back to the clip earlier where he talks about Joe Biden and the war in Ukraine and the stolen election. Then he again hammers Joe Biden about the southern border. I believe, folks, and I don't want to put too much conjecture. You guys know when I'm reporting, I kind of like to just report what is. But I am postulating here a lot out of this. But pay attention here now. He's sending the USS Ford into those waters. We're blowing up narco terrorists. And this is where it gets really wild.
To our country should never be forgotten. He had an open border process. And people would come in, and I'm not discriminating against tattoos, but people would come in with tattoos all over their faces and say, come on in, come on in, come on in. They let people in that should have never been. Venezuela emptied their prisons into the United States of America. And every one of those boats that you see shot down, and I agree, it's a terrible thing, but every one of those boats kills 25,000 Americans. Every single boat that you see that's shot down kills 25,000 on drugs and destroys families all over our country.
We will talk about immigration in a moment, but I just want to talk about the scale of the military operation around Venezuela, because it has been described to 60 Minutes as using a blowtorch to cook an egg. Is this about
I
stopping?
don't think so. Look,
Is it about, let me ask you though, is it about stopping narcotics, or is this about getting rid of President Maduro?
no, this is about many things. This is a country that allowed their prisons to be emptied into our country. To me, that would be almost number one, because
We don't
we
need
have
to
other
blow up
countries.
boats in order
Look,
to do it.
Mexico has been very bad.
Okay, so he is laying out a criminal case here. I mean, this is just, I mean, if you're watching what he's doing, he's talking about the stolen election. He's laying out a criminal case against Venezuela. And now I'm going to pitch this. Let's see. We're going to move this forward to, where is it here? Right. No, that's the Georgia criminal conspiracy. That's Georgia criminal conspiracy. It is right. Where is it, George? Oh, that's the military houses. Here we go. They have hundreds of people. They have two big stations in Venezuela and Serbia. These elections, the steal is planned a year in advance. It's not just a push button at the last minute. They have engineers and statisticians. They'll go into a specific state and steal a state by attacking maybe 3 counties. They will use different techniques in every county. They'll never use the same techniques in adjacent counties. They know what they're doing. It was only when we had whistleblowers who recruited engineers from within the conspiracy. He's talking about Venezuela here. The guys who designed it, the guys who stole elections in particular districts, that you're able to understand how sophisticated this operation is and how it works. Okay, now I'm going to pull that out. George, Heather, I mean, and so then I'm going to bring in Georgia here in just a second. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, are they saying like, because I'm a little behind on the Venezuelan coverage, but are they saying like basically like the machines were hacked from Venezuela? Is that like through, is that what that last post you read is arguing?
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, it just, my first thought is Dominic Alamo, right? Fulton County's Dominion technician back in the 2020 election. This guy was a Nigerian citizen, as stated in a deposition from Curling v. Raffensperger. That was the same case that basically Alex Halderman said in the courtroom, you can hack it with a pen. Actually, I believe he actually hacked it with a pen in the courtroom.
Right there.
But he basically like detailed a whole report saying how these machines can be compromised. So if somebody with a foreign citizenship in the heart of Fulton County has access to the Dominion machines, and his job was like programming the EMS servers, and he has no allegiance to our country, for me, it's not wild to say like that information couldn't have then been given to people in Venezuela to do nefarious things with. So like everything that you just read from that tweet is totally plausible, because our whole system was compromised and we had foreign citizens running the machines and having access to the very software that Alex Halderman in court proved was compromisable. So it's totally plausible.
George, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Rudy Giuliani got destroyed for essentially saying that Dominion used Smartmatic software. Smartmatic was actually founded by Venezuelan engineers. He said that they use Smartmatic software in the American elections. So if Rudy Giuliani was right about that, then this is on the money right now. So that would implicate not just Maduro, but the entirety of Venezuela's government, which would make for a strong case to topple it, because that would literally, secure the nation and our elections against, these incursions. Oh, Dominion also closed their office in Serbia. So, well, it's going to be Liberty Vote now, which is,
Yes.
Isn't that crazy? I know the Republicans buying it, and I suppose he might just make it a better company. I'd prefer no machines, but to change it from Dominion, which is already a really bad name, to this, it's like the Patriot Act. It's not.
Yes.
It's not Liberty Vote. It's
The
it's not-
Affordable Care Act.
yeah, the Affordable Care Act. It's crazy, these words. But yeah, it's going to be Liberty Vote now. But their crimes shouldn't be forgotten.
Are they trying to sell us this whole Liberty Vote as in like, oh, it's the new and improved Dominion, nothing to worry about? Is
Yeah,
that
so a former official, was it out in Missouri, a Republican official that ran elections in Missouri? So he bought it. He bought the company. He might have had, like a venture capital or some kind of consortium work it out. But they bought the company from its current owners, and they're rebranding it as Liberty Vote. And I think it's a strategic thing because the name Dominion is now associated with shenanigans. So
as
one
it
of those
should
things.
be?
as it should be.
As it
Speaking of Smartmatic, I gotta do something else here really quick. Just throwing a word for Mike Lindell, mypillow.com/lumberjack, folks, for big savings on the best sleep products available. Save up to 66%. You can call 1-800-568-2865. Free shipping on your entire order and a blowout sale right now on standard MyPillows at only $14.98. I tell you can get your Christmas shopping done here. $14.98. Are you kidding me? Go get them some MyPillows. Jeepers creepers. Buy your liberal friends MyPillows so they can cry themselves to sleep on a freedom pillow. That's right. Anyways, folks, go check it out. Go get yourself some of the deals. Mike, of course, getting sued by everybody under the sun. But I'm going to take this back now to Rasmussen. Now, this deals with, okay, I'm going to bring this one in. I want you guys can comment on that. Here we have Norm Eisen. And I've queued this up to the right spot in the video, but lawfare coordinators Norm Eisen and Harry Lippman discussed the fraud Willis lawfare in January of 2023. They really love the judge who just happened to be an old school classmate of Norm Eisen. I'm going to bring Georgia into this, and I want this flashback first.
Harry, so just to run.
Just watch. I mean, the whole thing, they're laughing at the beginning, and I want you to understand just how confident these people were that they were going to get Trump. How confident they were that they were going to destroy him and take our country.
Down the hearing very quickly. Judge McBurney, Judge Robert McBurney, very capable jurist.
I was really impressed. Yeah.
He's proved his chops over the many months now of this investigation where you and I were quick to say, hey, this is the one. This is the greatest opportunity for accountability for the attempted coup and the democracy crime.
The attempted coup. These people are this is like Gavin Newsom the other day talking about how he hates politicians who lie.
Oh, he also said something about, oh, wow, Americans aren't going to get their food stamps. Trump is hosting a party at Mar-a-Lago. And I was like, hey, I pretty much remember you closing every business down in California, but leaving your own open and going on vacations while everyone else is locked down. Like, it's so hypocritical. I don't know how he doesn't see it when he says things like that.
I think these people, honestly, they lie so much that they don't really know the truth from a lie anymore. They start just believing their stuff. I really think that's what's going on. But here, I'll keep playing this. So they're excited about Judge McBurney, who was an old law school classmate of Norm Eisen.
The conspiracy led by Donald Trump against the 2020 election results. Or conversely, this is Donald Trump's worst nightmare. And he's had a lot of very unique legal questions, and he's handled He's handled them so expertly over these many months. And today was another tour de force.
You guys might have overlapped in law school as with the former president of the United States. I don't know if you've looked. It's around that vintage from Harvard.
Is that right? Yeah. Is that right? Well, that was an excellent.
Is that right? I mean, they know, and they just think it's all so funny, and it's not funny at all. But now, here's what we have. So I want you, if we're keeping track of all this, right? We just see Trump. Okay, the Forge Strike Group is moved into Venezuelan waters. Trump has said, we're going to prosecute 2020. We're getting to the bottom of it. I'm taking care of it. And then we have this going on. And this was just October 30th here, so just a few days ago. And this is from Harmeet Dillon. And I had, and you were actually on that show, Heather, with Garland Favorito, and he said that he was talking to the Department of Justice. They were getting the Department of Justice involved. Okay. We write to you as the governing body charged with running elections in Fulton County, Georgia, and maintaining records of those elections in accordance with state and federal election laws. On behalf of the Attorney General of the United States, we request that you present for inspection in its entirety and most original form all records in your possession responsive to the recent subpoena issued to your office by the State Election Board. The Civil Rights Division sends this request consistent with its ongoing obligations to ensure all citizens' voting rights have been and are protected in all elections. Title III of the Civil Rights Act of 1960 empowers the Attorney General to request preserved election records. See 52 U.S.C. 2701. Section 303 of the CRA provides, in pertinent part, any record or paper required by Section 20701 of this title to be retained and preserved shall, upon demand in writing by the Attorney General or his representative directed to the person having custody, possession, or control of such record or paper, be made available for inspection, production, and copying at the principal office of such custodian by the Attorney General or representative. Now, it goes on to talk about the National Voter Registration Act, the HAVA Act, HAVA, whatever you want to call it. And then it talks case law here. And then it goes on, transparency appears to have been frustrated multiple turns in Georgia, and so on. Now, a lot of people just want to see the Department of Justice go in and seize this. But I think that there's a series of legal steps they have to take before they can just do that. And all the I's being dotted and T's being crossed. So do you think, George, that we are going to see the records from 2020 in Georgia?
Nah, I don't. I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to blackpill everyone. So the judge responsible and overseeing the case had the ruling from the Georgia Supreme Court. The Georgia Supreme Court, the highest court in the state, remanded the case back to the court. And the first judge who got the case back kept waiting and waiting and stalling and stalling. And then they filed the motion to have the judge remove himself from the case because it was clear that he had a bias. Well, the judge willfully said, all right, cool, we'll send it to a different judge. A different judge took the case, been stalling. And then, like 2 weeks ago, if everyone remembers, President Trump said they should open the ballots in Georgia, in Fulton County, because he knows about the case. And then the next day, the judge scheduled the hearing for the first time in like 2 years, or a year and a half at least. And then the next day after that, the judge canceled the new hearing. And now we're back to square one. So I don't know if those records exist, Neil. I'm going to be honest. And the chain of custody period, the retention period of 22 months in Georgia State, 24 months, that already expired a long time ago. So,
but they were
there's a litigation hold.
Preserved,
I know there's a litigation hold, but I don't expect these Democrats to actually follow the law.
But they don't have to follow the law at some point, George. I mean, if they're not following the law and the Department of Justice seizes the records, that's different than turning them over.
But they're not. But the Attorney General letter, they're not asking for the physical ballots, are they?
Yes.
The Attorney General's requesting that information.
So this is they've been working with Garland on this. So they said this is what they say. We write on behalf of it. We request that you present for inspection in its entirety and most original form all records in your possession responsive to the recent subpoena issued to your office by the State Election Board.
In your possession is a pretty important.
Well, exactly, but they were ordered to maintain those records. So either they are going to get the records, or they broke the law and can be charged with that.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, if they kept those ballots, it would be the dumbest thing on their part.
There's no way they did. I mean,
Okay, hold on. Let me ask the question. I'm going to let you go, Heather, but let me ask this question real quick. Okay, in the chat, I want you to answer. Do you think we're going to see justice in, let's talk specifically Georgia. I mean, because Venezuela, we've got a strike group down there. And there's another part of that interview I want to share here in just a minute. But then Heather, as these people answer that.
Well, so I remember a big starting. I don't know if you heard this, George, but back in the aftermath of the 2020 election, there was a big story out of Georgia involving shred trucks being ordered by a guy for Dominion to go to the ballot warehouse. I believe it was the end of December 2020. And somebody from the shred truck company that had been hired to go there and shred stuff had made a phone call to like Trump's world saying that they believed they were being ordered to do something illegal and shred illegal materials. And this was a whole ordeal where the shred truck involved, I believe the company was AAA Shredding, ended up being impounded at a police department in Georgia. And I've verified this because I know a few people that were involved with this. And that shred truck was supposedly going to get inspected, but the DOJ got involved, like all these other people got involved and pretty much like ordered that the contents of the truck be destroyed.
Is that when all those trucks were pulling up to the warehouse and some guy captured it on video?
There was a couple. So here's the thing, right? Like the situation with the shred truck I just described is something worth paying attention to. There was a couple other fake outrage incidents involving trucks that like caught wind. And then like when you debunk one of those trucks, they tried to debunk all the trucks. Do you know what I mean? Almost like it was like planted in there, like as like a psyop or something to get you to look over at these trucks. And then when those ones go to a dead end, like you write off all of them. But this one in particular was impounded at a local police department.
Okay.
And that's a fact. So like that's something the Trump administration should be looking into. So like for me, I feel like that was them destroying evidence. Like my gut is like that was the ballots that were not being handed right now. And I can't necessarily prove that, but like when you look at the whole picture and how Fulton County hired a Don Samuel, one of Georgia's top 10 criminal defense lawyers, to represent them in this case, this civil case, that to me says, hey, we've committed some crimes and we're going to hire a criminal defense attorney because we need somebody that specializes in that in order to represent us in this case. So for me, I just look at the big picture. I could be wrong, maybe by some odd choice. The ballots are all sitting there tightly preserved, neatly stacked and organized in the ballot, but I don't see that being the case. But I do think if we are going to see justice, I don't think it's going to be by way of physical ballots. I think it's going to be by exposing corruption and potentially seeing some people held accountable for that.
The problem is the statute of limitations that already expired, right?
I mean, what is there a statute of limitations for election fraud and federal? I mean, I don't think there is, especially if you're undermining like the country on behalf of a foreign government, like potentially Venezuela or something. That's up there with like treason.
Yeah,
so I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on treason.
No, there is not. And then the other thing is we're looking at this and we have to go back again. They are ordered to preserve those records. So if they didn't preserve them,
yeah, the statute of limitations doesn't start from November 3rd. It would start from when they were ordered to, and to this point where they haven't. So yeah, if it's in that case, there is no statute of limitations because it's an ongoing violation.
Yeah. And I think that's what it was, because I think by law in Georgia, they were required to hold, like just in general, even if there are no shenanigans, they're required, I think it's up to 2 years to maintain all physical ballots and like anything to do, including memory cards and everything else, images. They have to store it for up to 2 years, but then the judge got involved and ordered that they be preserved. So I think that extends the life expectancy indefinitely or until further order of the court. So any violation of that at this point would be a violation of that order. But like, I mean, but if they destroyed the evidence back in December of 2020. Like, is that, is there a remedy for that? I guess would that fall under? I don't
Well,
know.
if they discovered it before the court case or destroyed these records before the court case, then the ruling might as well be moot because it wouldn't. It means the violation was done way before, and then they'd be caught for perjury because they would have said, "Oh yeah, we still have the records."
Yeah.
And then if it turns out that they actually destroyed the records in December, and they're saying in April of the next year, or whenever that lawsuit happened, that, oh, we still have them, then they lied to the court. So then that's a completely separate situation. But I wonder, Neil, Georgia has elections coming up next year, very important statewide races.
Yes.
Attorney General is up for re-election. Secretary of State is up for re-election. And more importantly, the governor.
Yes.
I guess actually the Attorney General's office might be the most important. Chris Carr is running for governor, but so is Burt Jones. Burt Jones is on our side on these issues. I hope he wins. I don't want to be seeing no Trump endorsement of Chris Carr. Like, please, no. Endorse Burt Jones. I think he and Burt Jones already have a pretty decent relationship. So,
Burt Jones would have been indicted along with the rest of them if it wasn't for oh God, there was some sort of like conflict or whatever that they couldn't like sweep Burt Jones in with the rest of them in Georgia.
Yeah, I think, was he not an elected official at that point? So he had like some sort of legislative or executive immunity.
I'm trying to remember what it was. Like there was something that made him immune from their like hit on all of them. I can't remember what it was though. There was something.
I don't know, but here I got another thing to bring in, and I also want to just Trump's endorsements because everybody gets frustrated with them sometimes. But I think Trump is just a pragmatist on these.
By the way, Brad Raffensperger is running for governor too. Just wanted you guys to know that. Chris Carr.
Brad, he won't endorse Brad. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, him and Chris Carr are the ugliest twins I've ever seen in my life, man. Like, this is bad. Like, these are very crooked politicians.
Dude, Burt Jones all the way.
Yeah, Burt Jones
endorsement.
This furthers my whole theory that something big could potentially be happening here. At least 6 senior Trump officials living on military bases for their safety. This does not happen in normal countries. Left-wing political violence is out of control. Presumably, left-wing judges have protected them for 50 years. Okay, Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, Kristi Noem, and others have taken over homes that until recently housed senior officers. This goes back to the whole thought process with Maduro and some form of a military operation. You can read into this, oh, it's just left-wing violence, and so they need to be moved in there. Or
I don't think that's true, though. I think that's just that wasn't true.
What?
Them moving into, unless you're telling me that was true. Unless this is news to me that was true.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking. Andrew Colvett has said this. I'm not dealing with schmuck accounts here.
Oh shoot! I thought the story was like some random accounts making things up, but
no,
it was actually something that was real.
No,
I guess it makes sense because their lives are in constant danger.
I mean, you look at what just happened to Charlie, and it's obvious there's some organized corruption here on American soil.
Yeah, they brand Kristi Noem as, I guess Hitler incarnate because she's. It's interesting, Neil. You and I, we spoke a lot about Kristi Noem and why she was brought in.
Yes.
So apparently, I didn't think this was possible, but apparently, Tom Homan wants deportations to be focused on public safety threats. So criminals, the worst of the worst. Yeah. Kristi Noem just wants to deport as many people as possible, and so she's in this. I agree with. I thought she'd be the more sympathetic of the two because she's a whammon, but it turns out that she's actually more extreme than Tom Homan. which-
Actually, I'm kind of on with Christy on this one. Like,
yeah,
the
exactly.
second you come across our border illegally, you're a criminal. So they all gotta go. Like there
Yeah,
is
yeah.
no like, oh, let's get the bad ones first. No, they're all bad. They all broke into our country, and so they gotta go. Every
Right.
last one of them. And then I'm kind of on the page with JD Vance when he spoke at that Turning Point event the other day. Is like, we also have enough people in here, and we need to like just pause immigration for the foreseeable future until we can like get our own country under control. There's a ton of people here that I guess came over quote quote legally, but they're not assimilating to our country. And so that's going to pose a problem down the road. So like until we get our like cultural affairs in order and we restore like that American pride and having people here that are actually pledging allegiance to our country, which is America. Yeah, exactly. And that goes for our members of Congress too. Hint, hint. But we need people that are actually loyal to our country. And so I think we should not only
dual citizens in our U.S. Congress.
Every single illegal, and we should also pause immigration here for the foreseeable future, unless somehow you have like the cure for cancer and you want to come over and make our country better. But
yeah, I'm gonna also just for those who don't know, Heather was accepted as a Pentagon reporter. I'm just gonna post her links again. She is okay, Heather. I'm just gonna do something here. So so. Heather was working for a news organization that was funded, supposedly. They didn't really have as much funding, I don't believe, as they kind of thought they had or said they had or whatever. So Heather was let go unexpectedly and rather quickly. And then she gets an opportunity to go to the Pentagon. But right now, Heather is struggling to pay her bills. And so I'm not going to get into it too much. I mean, but rent is due at the first of the month, and Heather needs to make rent. So if you can help her out and just support what she's doing and support what she's trying to do, I'll post the links again. She's on Cash App, she's on Venmo, and she's on PayPal. It's always Talk Mullins, some variant of that. And so and my mods can share those links too throughout. But it's just if you use Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal is really easy because you don't even have to have the apps. You can just go to paypal.com. Give Talk Mullins is what she runs there. So I'll just put those up again. But there, I just wanted to get that out. You're welcome. You're welcome. No,
it's like I want to get to a place eventually where you and George are, where you are completely financed independently. I've always contracted with other networks, so like being in that space now where I'm like, all right, building up my YouTube channel, building up all of the.
Wait, are you actually building up your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I'm gonna start. Like this studio I built over the last few months, and originally I was gonna be doing a show for this network that I was helping build out, but then when their investor money sort of fell through, like it literally happened. I feel like everything's a God thing because like when that happened, it was a few days before Charlie was killed. And then when Charlie ended up passing, like I'm grateful that I didn't have work and I had that time to grieve and process everything. Having worked with Charlie and known him for like 7 years, it was like, like the timing of it was just crazy. But then like after processing all of that, now it's like, all right, the real world bills are coming due. Like what door is God going to open? And that's when all of a sudden I got the call saying, hey, we have this program at the Pentagon. Do you want to, be an independent journalist? And it's funny because like a couple months before Charlie was killed, I was literally praying over the summer and was like, politics is so draining. I'm sure you know this, George. Like, it's just like, it's nonstop war mode. And like, I got to a point where I was just like, do I want to even stay in politics? And I was literally praying on it. And I think I talked to you about this, Neil, too. Like, do I want to go, more of like my, like hone in on my faith? Or do I want to, launch a podcast about, scripture and the gospel and get more into that? And I felt a little pull there. And then all of a sudden this happened with Charlie, and I got invited to speak at a few of the memorials here for him. And so many people afterwards came up to me and were like, I swear to God, it'll make me cry if I say, but they're like, you sound like Charlie. And I was like, even my daughter said that. She's like, Mom, like, you sound like Charlie. And I was like, well, how can I not stay in this space now if like so many people are calling me to it? But yeah, it's just and here I am now. God's like, Heather, not only do we not want you to get out of politics, we want you to go in the Department of War where you're going to be
make
dropped
war.
in the thick of it. And like,
God's
go
putting
there,
you on the
Heather,
front
and
lines,
do
literally.
what you're going to do. So it's really, I'm just like following God's path for my life, whatever that is, and taking it one day at a time. So I appreciate you, Neil, and all of you. I feel like you guys remind me a lot of like Charlie, and that you're comrades in this fight for our country. And it's just losing Charlie was so hard because he was such a good fighter. And he was truly led by God. He wasn't led by money. He wasn't led by power. He wasn't led by followers or cliques. Like, he was just serving his purpose that God put him on this earth to do. And he was so fearless and courageous in that. And so trying to channel that same energy going into the Pentagon, because Lord knows it's probably more chaotic in the Pentagon than it is in Fulton County, if that's even a possibility.
I don't know. Fulton County is pretty bad.
I know. If I could get through that, maybe the Pentagon will actually be like a walk in the park.
Well,
thanks for sharing, Heather.
now you really have to become that reporter that me and Neil can make content about. You know, like, she just asked the question of the century. Like, whatever you do, Neil and I are going to make a video about it.
Like, I rely on people like you and Neil to like guide my questions. Like, like, I feel like the circle of influence that I've built over the years, especially after going through the 2020 election, that showed me so many people who were afraid to challenge the status quo, because at the time when I was investigating all this stuff, the legacy media was spreading the big lie. Remember that whole thing where like, oh, you're an election denier if you question the results, and you're responsible for the insurrection on the Capitol because you're trying to overthrow the elections and blah, 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 blah. And so there was this negative stigma to anybody that spoke about election fraud. And then all of a sudden you had, Fani Willis that was arresting and prosecuting people that I'd worked with. Like, I swear to God, I thought I was going to end up arrested, because if they're that corrupt that they were arresting all of these people, what's going to stop them from going after a journalist, right? And I was having conversations with all those people. And I think back to that video of Charlie Kirk when Charlie like got emotional after Trump won the election. And when somebody had asked him about that later, like, why'd you get emotional? And he's like, because I felt like I can finally go enjoy my family in peace now without like worrying that like my government is going to come after me. Like, I felt that same feeling when Trump won. In fact, like, I don't even know if I could really enjoy it when Trump won, because I had like PTSD from all of the like watching Greg and Catherine go to jail over Connick. Remember that? Watching all my friends, like yeah. And so like I was watching in real time the people all around me get persecuted, thrown in jail, indicted. And I was like the journalist, like trying to yell as loud as I could to get the truth out, that I was like, clearly there's a target is going to be on my back. And so like, I learned in those moments, though, of the election fraud era, I guess you would say, that like the people like you, George, people like you, Neil, like people like Charlie and Steve Bannon, and like all these people that were actually shedding light on the truth, no matter how bad things got, they didn't care. And this was at a time when the Biden administration was still in power. So they could come after you, they could demonetize you, they could censor you. And there were people that did not care. They were going to boldly proclaim the truth, no matter what the cost. And I think because of living through that, I have a good sense of like who I trust in this movement and who I know is not led by like cliques and the news of the day, I guess. But so when I do go to the Pentagon, I'm definitely going to be relying on you guys to, give input. And
yes. Well, thank you. I'm going to get back to this. I want to play another clip of this Trump interview. here with Nora O'Donnell of 60 Minutes. This all goes back to this whole.
Well, you know, it's funny. It's
Oh, go ahead.
60 minutes, and then they uploaded a version that was 27 minutes. And then the full version's like, they cut out 40 plus minutes of that. That is crazy.
Yeah. It's an hour and 13 minutes, the full thing, 60 minutes overtime. Here we go.
To us in terms of drugs. Okay, very bad. We have a closed border right now. You probably noticed that for 5 months in a row, they have zero, think of this, zero people coming into our country through our southern border. And it was millions of people a year, just a little more than a year ago. Millions of people a year walked into our country, totally unchecked, unvetted. We had no idea.
Look, every time somebody complains about President Trump and them not getting what they want out of him at the very moment, I always bring this up because this is the big thing. I like, they don't even realize he stopped an invasion, a foreign invasion. Okay. This is unbelievable that people still complain about other little ancillary things. Oh, he's not doing enough. You know, this is amazing. All right.
Who they were. And we're never going to let that happen again. That's what made Biden the worst president, because you know what? Inflation, I've already taken care of. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now we don't have inflation. It's at 2%. It's a perfect inflation. But what made him so bad? Well, the weaponization of law enforcement, all that. Look, he was bad in every way. But the worst thing that he did is allow millions and millions and millions of people to pour into our country, unvetted, unchecked. And they were criminals, they were murderers, they were drug dealers, they were people from jails and people from mental institutions.
You have had success on immigration. I want to talk about that in a minute, but on Venezuela in
Big success.
Okay.
on Venezuela in particular, are Maduro's days as president numbered?
I would say, yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And this issue of potential land strikes in Venezuela, is that true?
I don't tell you that. I mean, I'm not saying it's true or untrue, but I
Why would
I
we
wouldn't
do
be
it?
inclined to say that I would do that, but because I don't talk to a reporter about whether or not I'm going to strike. I'm not going to, you're a wonderful reporter. You're very talented, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do with Venezuela, if I was going to do it or if I wasn't going to do it.
Why do we need an aircraft carrier and strike group?
It's got to be somewhere.
The lip.
Oh my
The
God.
big one. Okay, hold on.
To the suggestion.
Did you catch we were laughing too hard. You got to catch this last part. Just
Or
wait.
just-
Said it's going to be somewhere.
It's got to be
That's-
somewhere.
That's going to be a meme.
It is. This is epic.
Or if I wasn't going to do it,
Why do we need an aircraft carrier and strike group?
it's got to be somewhere. It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It leads to the suggestion
Our
that the
biggest-
United States military is planning a larger operation involving Venezuela.
Well, we're not going to allow countries from, well, it's countries from all over the world coming in. They come in from the Congo, where we just settled that war, but they come in from the Congo. They come in from all over the world. They're coming, not just from South America, but Venezuela in particular has been bad. They have gangs, Tren de Aragua. Do you ever hear of it?
Of course.
The most vicious gang anywhere in the world. They cut people's hands off if they call up the cops. They call up the police and they said, "Did you call the police?" "Yes, I did. You took my apartment. You live in my building. You took my apartment." They cut his hand off. "Don't ever call the police again."
I
These are
fully
animals.
understand.
Wait a minute. And they came in
Wait a
from
minute.
Venezuela. Worst gang, probably the worst gang, most vicious gang in the world. And you know what I did in Washington, D.C.? We had a lot of them. Took care of business. They're gone. Washington, D.C. right now is a very safe place, as it should be. Washington, D.C., before I got here, was almost like a crime capital of the world. It's a capital of this country. To me, it's the capital of the world. You see the way they treat me. I go to Japan. I go to South Korea. I go to China. Any place I go. And you know what I call that? Respect for our country. They didn't treat Biden that way. When Biden went there, first of all, he hardly went anywhere. The guy couldn't leave his bedroom.
I couldn't leave his bedroom. It goes on. Do you know what's really funny? As he sits there and he talks about the crime in Washington, D.C., and he asks Nora O'Donnell, I mean, you got to notice that it's safer out there. And she won't answer. And then he keeps coming back to it. And finally, she's like, quite frankly, I've just been too busy. Too busy to notice whether or not the crime is worse or not. When everybody on the street, I mean, just normal people are telling us that it's obviously better.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. This is the problem with the fake news media. They can't admit to anything.
I mean, I noticed there used to be so many tents in DC, like all around the White House and the Capitol and stuff like that. They had like people literally living in the tents right on the sidewalks. All that's gone now.
That's awesome. Well, on the whole Venezuela thing, okay, I don't support U.S. intervention in just about every region in the world, but I do actually support whatever we do in Venezuela because I like the Monroe Doctrine. I think that's actually one of the best foreign policy views that an administration has come up with. It was written by John Quincy Adams when he was Secretary of State under James Monroe.
Mhm.
So it really should be the Adams Doctrine because that's what it is. But it essentially established that the United States would stay away from Europe's affairs, take that non-interventionism of a George Washington, but the Americas, the Western Hemisphere, the New World, as it was called, is our domain, is our territory. And we're not going to allow Europe or outside forces to influence the newly formed republics that were coming up at that time. So the Monroe Doctrine separated, the old world versus the new world. And it said, we're not going to participate in the things of the old world, but we are going to make sure the Americas are influenced by the United States. So that was the Monroe Doctrine. And Venezuela is putting us in a really weird situation because we're losing legitimacy the more they align with Russia. 90% of their military equipment is from Russia. They're aligning with China. They're allowing the Chinese to take a lot of their industries domestically. So what that does is it makes us look bad because we're supposed to be the big daddy of this region. We're supposed to be influencing how they do things, how their governments operate. We're supposed to be promoting freedom. And we have two communist countries. Colombia's slowly becoming more of that now. Two really Marxist countries that are just pain in the butts. You have Cuba, Venezuela, and now Colombia is getting closer and closer to full-blown communism. Their president, Pedro, is an idiot. But for Trump to want to do what he's doing in Venezuela is, yes, of course, about stopping the drug trafficking. Yes, it's of course about criminality, and it's also about American power. We have to project power and influence in this region. It's ultimately going to be good for Venezuelans. They want this. A majority of them want Trump to do something like escalate militarily in Venezuela to take care of Maduro because they're tired of living under socialism. So if Trump does this, he'll be popular. Like it's going to be a popular policy among Latinos. Also, it's important because it's a humanitarian thing. Because of socialism, millions of Venezuelans have fled to neighboring countries. That's why all their neighbors like Peru, Argentina, and all these other countries were declaring the opposition as the rightful winners of the last election. I was covering that on X in July of last year. That was my entire feed, just Venezuela for a whole week. But yeah, that election was clearly won by the opposition, and he declared himself the winner anyway. But that's why those neighboring countries are saying, actually, we think the opposition won, because they have a lot of Venezuelans in their country, and it's a crisis for them. It's also a crisis for us. Almost 1 million Venezuelans are here on the temporary protected status. So they're not fully illegal, but they should go back at some point. They can't go back because Maduro won't take them back. And so the best way to solve this problem is just do a nice, good old-fashioned overthrow. And, everyone says that when the United States invades a country, they ruin it, and they ruin everything they touch. That might be true with, the Middle East, but it's not true with Korea. We certainly helped South Korea exist. It's not true with Panama. We made Panama. We created it. Yeah. So it's not true with Europe. We helped the Europeans stop the Nazis. We also helped Europe rebuild so they could hedge against the Russians and the Soviet Union.
And Japan.
Japan as well. And we nuked Japan twice and they forgave us. And now they're like one of our best allies. So, oh my gosh, we nuked them twice and they forgave us. But the point is, not every U.S. intervention is bad. Some of them are actually good. And I think the Venezuelan one is one I actually support.
Well, in addition, George, I'm going to just pull this back to this. So if you just jumped on the stream, I know people jump on and off throughout, but they have hundreds of people. They have two big stations in Venezuela and Serbia. These elections, the steal is planned a year in advance. It's not just a push button at the last minute. again, Trump is talking in this interview with Norah O'Donnell very specifically about Venezuela. I love how coy he is. I just, well, it's got to be somewhere. It's a big one. It's a big one. The biggest, but, and there it is out the coast of Venezuela. And I don't know. I mean, everything coming together with Georgia, Department of Justice there, the Department of Justice is requesting election records in a lot of states right now. And Trump is not letting go of this.
They should send monitors to Virginia, as many as they can. Look, the Biden DOJ started that. I mean, it's always kind of been a thing with the DOJ monitoring local elections to make sure they follow the law. But they should send like 50 DOJ lawyers across, Virginia, and a lot more across New Jersey, because Democrats.
Is there any sort of like election war room going on in New York right now for that mayoral race?
Well, are you saying there's an election war room?
No, I'm asking if either of you are aware of any sort of like anyone monitoring the elections for New York.
I think Zoran Mamdani's going to win that. I don't know how close it's going to be at the end.
I don't believe there's that many people after, especially in New York of all places, after like 9/11 and all that are going to turn around and vote for him.
It's more they're voting against Cuomo, to be honest, because Cuomo is a scumbag. I mean, the guy.
I don't know. Rudy Giuliani's endorsed Curtis, and I see like a lot of accounts talking about Curtis, but like.
He should be the winner, but the problem in a blue city like New York is like we can look on the outside and say, there's no way they'd vote for this, but that's because we're not liberals. We don't think like how they do. Liberals are like, for example, they say that a lot of Jewish voters are going to vote for Cuomo, but the polls show it's like 60-40. So it's like almost half of the Jewish voters in New York are going to vote for the guy they say is going to destroy them. It's just liberalism, man. It really erodes any level of integrity in the brain. So now you're voting for a full-blown commie. New York is going to be Caracas, Venezuela in a few years if that guy does what he wants.
Any difference between Cuomo and the Madami guy? Like, I don't see any difference. You could say like, all right, well, one's a Muslim or whatever, but like, as far as communists, they're both communists as far as I'm concerned. Like with the way
to us, but in the Democrat Party, there's like Chuck Schumer, who we think is like the epitome of a Democrat, and then there's AOC and Bernie Sanders, who want the country to turn into who want to literally take all the rich people's money and give it to some lazy people. They actually want that for America.
Cuomo is more into like Cuomo just wants to extort more money out of businesses, but he wants to allow businesses. Mamdani wants the state to just own the businesses. He's already talked about that, state-run grocery stores and so on. I mean, we're just dealing with a different breed. But the problem is, Heather, and I hear you about 9/11, but here's the problem. Like 9/11 happened in 2001. Like, back then, you have to understand. So if you were a kid under 15, it really wasn't that big of a thing to you. And so now those are the people that are voting, and they don't even have a recollection of 9/11. They don't really. It doesn't impact them. And to us, we sit there and we look at 9/11, September 11th. My gosh, they flew and blew up our towers. I mean, the whole thing. Okay, and whatever you want to believe about it. The people who flew the planes into the towers were Muslim terrorists. That's who flew the planes into those towers. Now, how that all came about, there's a whole lot of discussion on that and everything. But the bottom line is the people who flew those planes into those towers were Muslim terrorists.
Yep. Saudi nationals as well.
Saudi nationals, yeah.
And then we invaded Afghanistan and Iraq.
In Iraq, I know. And it's so funny because I think so many of us learned so much, and I'd love to hear comments in the chat on this. But I had voted for George Bush. What was I going to do? Vote for Al Gore or vote for John Kerry? I mean, we were left with a binary choice, and I actually like binary choices in elections. I'm not a guy who wants these. What are those elections called? Where they come on, help me out, George.
Rank choice.
What's that?
Rank choice.
Ranked choice. Thank you. I want nothing to do with ranked choice voting. But here's the thing. And then you can look typically what happens because Republicans or conservatives, however you want to phrase this, are more open-minded and more critical in their thinking. They are the ones that will vote for a third-party candidate.
Yeah,
So-
Republicans are the
Wait, does New York have ranked choice voting?
nah. They have something dumber, stupid voters, which is worse than ranked choice because they're just going to vote for the liberal.
No, I'm just talking about the binary choice in elections, Heather. In general, I like that, but that because what happens, I remember, if you go back and look on the history of elections, and there was Ross Perot and George Bush and Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton got in because of Ross Perot. Otherwise, he wouldn't have.
Yeah, but I don't know. I kind of feel like
will vote for.
To be fair to Bill Clinton, he did a pretty good job as president. I mean,
yeah, but in this particular election,
Even though he's a
Cuomo
Democrat.
is the third party. Like
yeah,
that's
he's an independent.
like so like everyone's talking about the race as if it's Cuomo and Mondami or whatever, but it's really him versus Curtis, and Cuomo is the third party injecting himself. And so I honestly think that like if you're gonna have all the people that are like Republican voters, they're all gonna vote Curtis anyway because he's the Republican, and then I think the left-leaning vote will be split between Cuomo and Mondami. Am I saying his name right? I don't even know if
Whatever. Who cares?
Yeah,
It's like,
but
yeah.
I think in this particular case, those two could actually create a pathway for Curtis to pull it off with a lower threshold. Because if it was just him against Mondami, then it would be a lot more difficult. But I think Cuomo pulls from the Democrat vote.
Cuomo is just a self-serving schmuck. I mean, he's pathetic. He shouldn't have even injected himself into the race, and now he's trying to act like he's the savior of New York. And the reality is, he would be better than Mondami. I mean, in reality, he would.
As much
That's
as
like saying,
Republicans,
that's like saying, do I want to, die of a hanging or a bullet? I mean,
I understand.
die.
I'm not. Again, I'm just being pragmatic. I mean, Donald Trump is even saying to vote for Cuomo over Mondami, and
he didn't actually say to do that. He just said, like, if I had to pick like a bad, bad Democrat versus a communist, I would pick a bad Democrat. But he didn't actually come out and say go vote Cuomo.
Yeah, I like that Trump hasn't attacked. Trump hasn't gone after Curtis Sliwa at all. He hasn't been like, oh, you should drop it. I think you should. No, he hasn't done any of that. And also, Neil, I think Republicans are kind of missing the bigger picture here. In a way, if Mamdani gets in as mayor of New York and he wrecks the city and it, suddenly everything's more expensive, his rent controls lead to less housing, so higher prices. It's going to make the city very tough to live in. And guess what? That's campaign material for Republicans because they'll go, look what Democrats want to do here, what they did in New York. New York will become like Chicago. Yeah. And people don't realize, but Democrats running all these blue cities into the ground is kind of what gave us Trump. It gave us this figure who came in and said, the system has failed you. Look at your cities. They're not safe. They're filled with illegals. Look at everything going on around you. Your government is not accountable to you. They spend money outrageously. That's what gave us Trump. So I wonder if Democrats go a step further and make New York literally a socialist utopia, what is it? How much damage is it going to do to their credibility nationally? Also, Obama he called Mamdani yesterday or Saturday and refused to endorse him, but said, oh, I'll be willing to work with you. But Obama is the de facto leader of the Democrat Party whenever they're not in the White House. And the leader of the Democrat Party knows it's poisonous for him to attach himself to Mamdani because it's not like he'd be endorsing some candidate with a 5% chance of winning. He'd be endorsing the front runner of the race, the Democrat primary winner, right? And he's choosing not to. And I think it's because, and Chuck Schumer is the same. He has not endorsed Mamdani. And it was only like a week ago that Hakeem Jeffries finally did so. These Democrats are so reluctant to endorse him because they know that his politics will be poison to the Democrats. As much as Democrats suck and everything else, but most Democrats are not actually AOC full-blown communists. Their base might feel that way most of the times. The younger base for sure. But the more older base, the boomer base, all they want to see is babies die, abortion, and that's all they want to see. But they're ideologically not communist. They They're like social
Murderers.
Yeah, they're murderers. That's all they are.
Yeah, it's just I gotta I don't know. Somebody said Bill Clinton was mega before mega or something to that effect in the comments. He wasn't. I mean, so Bill Clinton, he was but he wasn't.
I thought he was a decent president. I wouldn't say.
Well, he signed welfare reform. He did a number of good things, but he was a poll checking president, and I used to think that was terrible, but actually it's not. A president who actually gets a pulse on the population and then actually gives them what they want is probably a better than these ideologues in the Democrat Party who do the Cornhusker kickback, Louisiana Purchase, and everything just to ram Obamacare down our throats. And steal an election in Minnesota. But Mondami is no different than Omar Fatah that we have down in Minneapolis right now running for mayor. And then you got Dearborn.
Neil, you're gonna have your very own Mamdani right down the street.
Yeah, well, whatever, 3 hours away or something. But
Nah, he's gonna influence your life, man. It doesn't matter that you're 3 hours away because Minneapolis people are gonna be moving to your city to get away from him.
Yeah, I know. It's and one of the things. I mean,
and your mayor's learning Somali. It's so bad. Like you have turds as options. You have Jacob Frey, who's learning Somali. He's a Jewish guy learning Somali in a city full of white people. Oh my gosh,
it's unbelievable. I mean, so back when Mayor Fry, I call him Mayor Small Fry. But, during the riots, he was so feckless and ineffective. But I'll tell you that the police union still endorsed him. He was still the best choice. He was still the best choice. Of the people who were running for mayor in Minneapolis, he was the least anti-cop.
Yeah, you better hope he wins because, yeah, he sucks, but he's not going to suck like a guy waving a Somali flag.
Speaking of Somalian, pledging allegiance to Somalia.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
This all happened. I mean, this guy's unreal. And so I want you to look at like Dearborn, Michigan right now, completely taken over. Then you look at Minneapolis, and then you look at New York. Those are huge losses.
They do the prayer call.
Yeah.
What's
the solution to that? Because I'm assuming they all are not illegal. Some of them might be.
Yeah, most of them are probably just chain migration, where one guy shows up to the city and then he brings the whole family over, and they keep doing that thing, or they keep bringing more in. But I think the solution is,
or like
stop it.
She marries her brother, and that's how she's able to get in. George, go on.
But one of the videos that I saw of Charlie, he was talking about how like the original state constitutions had like declarations of Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. And so like, how do we get back to that? Like if our government, our form of government was founded on like Christian biblical principles and was designed for a Christian population, then how is it compatible with it's obviously not with Muslim lawmakers and things like that. Like we should have to get back to a point where in order to run for office, I feel like you should have to declare Christ as Lord and Savior.
Well, we can start by never holding galas called American Judeo-Hindu Gala at Mar-a-Lago. There was actually a gala called that, which I was like, can we just call it the American Gala and not America Judeo-Hindu Gala? Now they're trying to sneak Hinduism in. I don't know. It's a little ridiculous. Neil, I gotta go. There's a guy here at my front door. He's gonna fix my washer because
George. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks very much for having me. Neil. All
right. Heather, George is gone, and he's back in the back.
What are your thoughts on that? Because
Heather, your first video has to be like, I just became a Pentagon reporter, or something where people are like, oh my gosh, this is news. Might work with the algorithm. It's like I'm back on YouTube video. You never know. You could get lucky. Some new people watch. But please start making videos every day. All right.
Will do. Thank you, George. That's actually a good advice.
Yes, it is. It's good advice. George is a YouTubing machine. You know.
I know. I need you guys to like mentor me on this whole like independent kind of growing your channel stuff. Because it is a whole different ball game, you know. Like I was so used to running around covering Trump rallies for like Real America's Voice and just like, you know, staying on the beat and then digging into the election stuff. But like when you actually are running or like working completely independently and building out your whole thing, there's a lot that goes into that.
Well, like to just build an audience, and I'm very fortunate, Heather. I mean, I've got an audience that stuck with me through multiple demonetizations and bans and all that kind of stuff. You know, I have the best audience out there. I mean, they're just really wonderful people. They're very supportive of Mike Lindell. You know, the MyPillow, Mike has been so appreciative of them. I mean, it's been one of the top audiences for him in terms of purchasing MyPillow products and helping him out when he was, you know, running through the election stuff. But it's, I don't even know how it even happens. The beauty of YouTube is the algorithm and how it gets you out in front of new people and allows people who have no audience to create an audience if they can find an audience that actually likes them. And that's the beauty of it. So, but it's a whole thing. But I know right now, Heather, you've got big concerns. You know, you got rent to pay. So as you go out and do your thing, so I'll share your links again here. There it is. Life here. There it is. Been here since day one. Life is full of hiccups. Thank you for being here since day one. But Venmo, we've got Cash App, and we got PayPal. It's just always Talk Mullins on these various. If you want to help Heather out as she gets started in her independent media journey, and a Pentagon reporter, we can have her on the show from the Pentagon.
You know, as long as my bills are getting paid. But I appreciate you. Neil.
Live from the Pentagon, it's Heather Mullins. And no, we'll go like this. And now we bring you live to the Pentagon with real-time reporting from Heather Mullins. Repeat.
I'm excited. I don't even know what to expect going forward. So I'm in like the whole background check phase of the process right now. So they run background checks on everyone that gets credentialed and sign the paperwork and do all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, somebody said, please say a prayer. So, Father God, we just thank you, praise you as we end this show, Lord. Thank you so much for all you do, for who you are. The fact that you saw fit to create us, and then that you gave us a plan for salvation. And not just salvation to get to heaven, Lord, but salvation that we might change, that we would not put new wine into old wineskins, Lord, but that would be a new creature in Christ, that we would truly learn how to love, as 1 Corinthians 13 tells us, that we would hold no record of offense, that we would not love our own lives unto death. We would overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony, and not love our own lives unto death, Lord. Not love our own lives unto death. We just thank you so much that you give us the power to change and to do that, because that's really where the battle is. For each one of us, it is actually battling and contending for the faith, holding on to the faith, and the faith in you, in your ability to change us and heal us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Heather, you have a good one. Folks, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Okay? Peace out.